This has been a crazy week for Red.
Even if you hate Red, you've got to thank them for the leap.
Yo, you can do this with the global shot. I was like, they did it. And if that literally means working with our quote unquote competitor to make the best tech, let's run it.
And we ain't even getting into the camera yet, but
oh my gosh, he's drinking the Kool-Aid. Red is not about fanboying and any of that stuff.
They have been waiting for me to publicly talk about why I switched to Red. Tell me you a fan without telling me you a fan. You know what I mean? Who would have thought? Like,
but when you saw the notification about this camera, the new Raptor X, what were your thoughts? What was your initial thoughts that went through your mind once you started reading off the spec sheet?
When I first saw global shutter, and I was like, no way. But the first thing that came to mind, right? I'm not even like, I jumped to conclusions. I feel like we do that. We see like newly released and then you're like, oh, I bet you automatically start knowing the flaws, right? Like if you know global shutter, you know the limitations of global shutter, you know the restrictions, like it's pros and cons. So right. I saw that and I'm like, ooh, they dropped man, I wonder if it's as good in dynamic range as the current Raptor. Cause that's like, there's nothing to me that is even close to that, like running and gunning. Yeah. Bro, I go through the specs and then it said 3 additional stops. Like in the highlight, I'm like, hold up, like, wait a minute. So I'm automatically thinking, well, what does that mean? Does that mean it's 14 stops of dynamic range plus 3? So like, you know, are they still sacrificing? No. 17 stops of dynamic range with the ability to go past that in situations where you need, like, dude, I feel like I said this to some people already, but it's already so hard to clip shots on the Raptor, like the original Raptor. And I can only imagine having the ability to take it further, 3 additional stops. Like, what? Like, it's crazy, bro.
I think that was it for me too. Like, I love the Komodo, right? Like the OG Komodo was like the first Red that I purchased. And when I shot with that global shutter sensor, it immediately, I was like, oh, there's a difference here in the look. But I will say there were some limitations that I saw with the original Komodo, and a lot of it was in the shadows. And then when we got the upgrade to the KX, and I shot with that one and I saw the dynamic range and that it was hitting close to Raptor levels. I was like, yo, you can do this with the global shutter. I was like, they did it. They did what you can do with global shutter. You know, it's Super 35 sensor. It's 6K. I'm loving this. This is exactly what we needed, right? And then they give us VistaVision, bro. Global shutter. And it has the dynamic range. So you're not sacrificing anything. And then they still keep everything that we love from the original Raptor. You get the 8K, you get the 120 frames per second. But for me, there are things that like I'm looking at that I'm like, they are listening. Cause like when I talk to them about the KX, like one of the things I didn't necessarily love about my Raptor was the audio. I was like, man, the audio is really good, but it's like super low. And like to gain it up to where you need it to be, like it almost was like, I can't really record audio internally. They fixed that on the KX, and now on the Raptor X, they made it even better. So it's clear that they're listening to the users, and they're not this like company that feels like, oh no, we're making the cameras we think are best. It's like, we are gonna listen to the people who actually use our stuff, and where there are limitations, let's make it better.
Let's make it better. That honestly is why. And like, again, I'm only saying this because I don't want there to be comments like after the live where people are like, "Yo, I looked up Justin. He only had his Red since November." Like, okay, listen, I understand technology, so like I've been a nerd. I like this. This is not new, right? Anybody that knows me knows this. Like I've been this way since like I was born. Like I've always been this way. But my thing with Red and what I really like is that, like you said, they listen, but they also don't go backwards. Like I feel like if you think about a lot of the cameras that you love today, right? Like y'all know I was a diehard Blackmagic guy. Like that's just what it was. I had the original Pocket 6K Pro. It came out. There's gripes for days of that camera, right? You did a review on it, right? Like I mean, everybody, like we've all used this camera and we all have the same love-hate things for it. I was expecting there to be an improvement. And one of the things that they did is they went a step backwards. They dropped, a 6K full frame. And what do? They take away your ND filter. They go backwards with some of the things. With Red, what I've noticed, even with the original Komodo, because I purchased that first and then I got a KX, they did everything, gave you global shutter. They gave us what we wanted, but then they were like, oh, what else did people hate? Well, I hated that the original Komodo couldn't do higher frame rates in 6K. Okay, let's double everything with the KX. Let's not put the KX out until we can double it all. And then here comes the Raptor X. I don't personally know if there's a forum out where people are like, I hate this, this, and this, and this about the Raptor, because I've had nothing but good things to say about it. But if there is this list, I would imagine that the Raptor X is solving it because it fixed problems that I didn't even face yet. Like I didn't face overexposing or clipped highlights on a daily basis because of how good it is. And now they got a KX that like, okay, cool. When this becomes a problem, I know what I need to go to. And it's like, I'm good to go.
Dude, I think that's really what it's all about with this camera. So, because I know this is not going to be a camera that everyone's going to buy. But it's definitely a camera I think a lot of people are going to rent for the right projects because of the versatility of it. So let's go through a couple of the settings, and then I'm going to ask you, Mr. Porter, what's your favorite feature? I'll tell you what my favorite feature is. But in the chat, I want you guys to tell us right now, what's your favorite feature that you see in this camera, or you would love to even see in other cameras as the tech continues to improve and as we start to see new cameras come out all year long. I want to know what other features you love to see. So here are some of the highlight features we got on this camera. So of course we talked about it. It's an 8K VistaVision global shutter sensor. And VistaVision basically is full frame or full format on the sensor. But here's the thing I've always found interesting about VistaVision. It's actually a little bit bigger than full frame. And I think that's really, really interesting. And it really gives us some really unique looks. Obviously, it's got the global shutter, 17 plus stops of dynamic range. We can shoot up to 120 frames per second at 8K. It's a small form factor, so we're getting basically the same form factor as the original Raptor. And we've got the all-new audio architecture. As I mentioned before, it improves on the existing audio features that they already gave us with the KX. And of course, we have intelligent focus. Now, intelligent focus to me is something that is super unique because I would love to get, I want to know what the people in the chat have to say about this. But this cinema camera now has intelligent focus, which means we're getting like face tracking autofocus in a cinema camera, and it's coming out native on the camera. It's not like the Raptor or the KX before it, where it had some focus stuff, but it was all beta when it first came out, and then it was an update that allowed it to do face tracking. It's coming with this built in, so the sensor is actually designed for this. So that's probably my favorite feature that I'm most interested in testing out. But Mr. Porter, what's your favorite feature that you see on this camera right now that you think is going to be like groundbreaking for this camera?
Mine definitely is the enhanced highlights, the dynamic range. I don't know if that was like on the list. I just know it's it's my favorite improvement to the Raptor X. I think personally, and you kind of said this, they just kind of give you all of the tools. They're like, here's a camera we just want to give you as much as you can possibly have in your shots to do whatever you want with in post. And I think being able to go from shooting Sony to, there's videos on my YouTube where I was like, I'm a diehard Sony fanboy. And then I was fully invested in Blackmagic. And now I'm here with Red. I think going through the ecosystems and now having a camera that truly does give me everything that I need in post, I think that's been the biggest selling factor for me. And so to see this camera come out, again, I haven't faced issues, or if I have, it's like one or two a wedding where I have overexposed highlights with the Raptor. But now having a camera that's able to push past that without like losing any shadow detail. Like it's not moving the dynamic range. It's just literally taking you from here and like, boop, giving you more. I think having that ability, because I shoot run and gun, I shoot weddings. It's always, I optimal. Oh, let me go flag this ceremony space real quick. Hang on a second. Let me go and block some. I can't do that. I got to just point the camera. At best, I got time to throw on an ND filter. That's it. And so to have the ability to know, like if I'm in a pickle, I can push past it. That's like my favorite feature. I want to be able to always have like the cleanest shot, no matter what, if I don't have the ability to light it or to bring in modifiers and stuff like that.
Okay. I 100% agree with you. And I think if you are a run and gun shooter, that is going to be probably the biggest one. And somebody actually made that exact same point in the chat. Somebody said, basically, like, it feels like the cinema cameras, like they're originally designed to be used with these big teams, but as the industry seems to be moving towards a more run and gun. But what I think is really interesting about that is the camera still can be used in a traditional cinema format. You know, like it can still be used on big blockbuster sets. As we saw, the camera was like being secretly used already on a project. I think Jared posted a picture about that. And it could definitely be used there, but we also can still see it as a run and gun format, whether that's for documentaries or, like you say, like for your weddings, which I think is nuts, but hey, you know, to each his own.
And trust me, there's some days where I'm running with it and I'm like, man, if I had like a little, A7S3, I'd be good. But part passion and part desire to have that look. Like I'm at the point now where I choose to have a better image. You know what I mean? Like, do I need it? No, but I want that. As a creative, I want the better image. And so,
No, totally understand that.